There's a study out this week about cartilage degradation in menopausal women. And the part that got me is that it's happening before women have any symptoms at all. Subclinical, they call it. Meaning your joints are already losing ground before you feel a thing. That has real implications for when we think bone and joint protection should start. And I want to dig into it today.
Hi there, I'm Tony Lee, and this is Hot Flasher, your daily menopause podcast that serves up fresh news, research, and wellness tips. I've built a daily news pipeline to find the latest on women's health and menopause research. Allow me to introduce my co-host Nykki, who handles the headlines. Take it away, Nykki.
Thanks, Tony. We've got a good one today. Let's get into it. There's a study I want to start with because it reframes something most of us have been told too late and too casually. It came out July 13th in PubMed, authored by Abbood and colleagues, and it looks at the association between subclinical cartilage degradation, bone density, and trace elements in premenopausal and postmenopausal women with osteopenia or osteoporosis. Subclinical. That word is doing a lot of work here. It means detectable, measurable in the body, but not yet symptomatic. You don't feel it yet. Your joints aren't screaming at you, and already the cartilage is showing signs of degradation. This matters because the story most women get about bone health goes something like, menopause arrives, estrogen drops, bones get thinner, you take calcium, and maybe get a DEXA scan at 65. That's the condensed version. And it leaves out the joint piece almost entirely. Cartilage isn't bone, but it sits right alongside bone, cushioning it. And it is also sensitive to estrogen decline. The idea that this degradation is measurable before a woman is symptomatic is the part that should change the conversation. Not after you're limping, but before. The study also looked at trace elements, things like zinc and selenium, and found associations with both cartilage markers and bone density in postmenopausal women. Now, I want to be careful here because the design is observational, which means association, not causation. It can't tell us that low zinc caused cartilage loss. It tells us that in this population, those things tended to move together. That's genuinely useful as a signal, but it's not a prescription for running out and buying a trace mineral supplement stack. Research suggests there's something worth investigating. It does not suggest you treat your joints with a supplement haul. What it does suggest, and this is my actual position on this, is that bone and joint protection strategies probably need to start earlier than the current standard of care implies. Waiting for pain, waiting for a fracture, waiting for a DEXA result that says osteoporosis rather than osteopenia, that's working against the biology. If subclinical cartilage degradation is already visible in women who are symptomatic enough to be classified as osteopenic or osteoporotic, then the intervention window opened before those diagnoses. Strength training, protein, estrogen, the levers we have, are most effective when used early. That's not a controversial position in the research. It's just not what most women hear in a standard 5-minute appointment. Postmenopausal women are already underrepresented in clinical research on joints specifically. Osteoarthritis research has historically skewed male, even though osteoarthritis affects more women and tends to accelerate after menopause. So this study, even with its observational limits, is at least asking the right question in the right population. A different flavour of question is being asked in a review published also on July 13th. This one by Glauser, also in PubMed. The headline is, Menopause apps offer empowerment but pose risks. And it's exactly the kind of piece I want to spend time on because the app space has exploded and the scrutiny has not kept pace. There are now dozens of apps marketed specifically to menopausal and perimenopausal women. Symptom trackers, hormone insight tools, some that claim to personalize recommendations based on your inputs. And the review makes a point that I think is pretty important. The empowerment framing is real, and it's not nothing. Women who track their symptoms are more likely to recognize patterns, more likely to go to a doctor with specific information rather than vague distress, and more likely to be taken seriously when they walk in with 3 months of data rather than a general complaint about feeling terrible. That's real value. Symptom tracking works as a tool for self-advocacy. The risk side is where it gets murkier. Some of these apps are making clinical adjacent claims, suggesting that their algorithms can identify hormonal patterns, guide supplementation, or in some cases imply diagnostic capacity that they do not have and are not regulated to have. There's a gap between this app helps you notice things and this app tells you what's happening hormonally. And a lot of products are living in that gap. The honest version of what symptom tracking apps can do, they can help you see patterns over time. Sleep disruption, clustering around certain days, mood shifts that correlate with other symptoms, hot flash frequency. That information is genuinely useful in a clinical conversation. The kind of conversation where a doctor is looking at evidence the way a tool like Open Evidence would surface it, from peer-reviewed sources, not from an app's proprietary algorithm. What they can't do is replace a hormone panel. They can't diagnose you, and they can't account for what's actually causing your symptoms versus what looks correlated in an app interface. My read on this: use the tracker, show the clinician. Don't let the app tell you what the data means. That's still a job for someone with training, and ideally someone with more than the 1 hour of menopause education the average medical school provides, which is its own separate scandal. The third study, out July 13th, is from Bouchard and colleagues, and it's titled Modelling Fertile Window Differences Across the Reproductive Lifespan with Quantitative Urine Hormone Monitoring of the Menstrual Cycle. On the surface, this looks like a fertility study, and it is. But there's something in the framing that connects directly to perimenopause. The study used quantitative urine hormone monitoring to track how the fertile window shifts across a woman's reproductive lifespan. And what it found is that there's meaningful hormonal variability that changes over time. The fertile window isn't a fixed biological constant. It moves, and that movement accelerates as women approach the end of their reproductive years. For women who are actively using fertility awareness or natural family planning as contraception, this is significant because it suggests that the standard models, which tend to assume relatively stable cycle patterns, may underestimate variability in women approaching perimenopause. The study is modelling that variability more precisely, which is useful for contraceptive accuracy, but it's also a window in just how hormonally variable the perimenopausal years are. Because that's the thing about perimenopause that catches a lot of women off guard. It's not a gradual, smooth decline. It's chaotic, cycles get irregular, hormone levels swing, and the assumption that your body is operating the way it did at 32, contraceptively, symptomatically or otherwise, is one that the biology doesn't support. This study is adding more granular evidence to what is a pretty well-established clinical picture. Hormone variability in the perimenopausal transition is real, it's measurable, and it has some practical consequences that women deserve to know about rather than discover by accident. The urine monitoring approach in the study is also worth noting. It's more sensitive than traditional methods for detecting the hormonal signals that define the fertile window, which means the variability they're capturing isn't just noise, it's real signal. Whether that precision makes it into consumer hormone tracking tools is another question and probably circles back to the app review. Because Right now, the gap between what the research can measure and what apps claim to measure is pretty wide.
Thanks for listening to Hot Flasher. We're back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.